Hello and welcome to the No Nay Never football show and podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Bromley, and my goodness, are we all on cloud nine. The team have only just got their breath back after that scintillating 3-0 victory over Lancashire rivals Preston. The Clarets going 10 consecutive games winning, just haven't even dropped a point for 10 consecutive games, and they've now scored in 27 consecutive league games. Quite a phenomenal season that we've got. I'm joined this week by Rich Steele and George Poole, where we're going to look back at that fantastic game and just consider what is next for the mighty Clarets. Let's go. Gentlemen, where on earth do we start with that performance yesterday? The Clarets, unbelievable. They ran riot at Turf Moor. I'm still on cloud nine. George, where do we start to unpick that Lancashire derby that very much went in Burnley's favour?
That's the thing. It's where do you start and where do you end? Because I think all three of us, if we had the time, could speak about this all night. It was just. It was magic. I think I think most of our analysis will be for the first 70 minutes of the game because, the last 20 was an actual drop off. I don't think we wanted to totally humiliate them, but the first 70 minutes of football was, I think, personally the best performance of the season from the team. I know we played really well at Huddersfield away. We only won 1-0. It's funny to say that we only won 1-0 because we expect to score more now. Obviously, Blackburn at home again was probably up there as a performance of the season, but against Preston, I think it was even better than the Blackburn game, and it's pretty sweet, isn't it, when your two biggest and most valuable performances of the season are against your two biggest rivals. So just absolutely on cloud nine, and really looking forward to looking back on the game.
Definitely, Rich. As is tends to be the case, because I'm a nervous fan. I kind of pinned this one as being the one where I thought Burnley might falter a little bit. It was a Lancashire derby. We always face tough opponents when we play Preston, and I just I didn't think we'd lose, but I just didn't think we were going to win and match this record. I think that was very much assuming that Preston would turn up, and I think it's fair to say, well, it's a bit of a shame, isn't it, really, that they couldn't join us.
Oh yeah, I actually fully agree with what George said. I thought in terms of a complete performance, it was our best of the season. But going back, Natalie, I thought you said you was nervous about West Brom, Norwich, Coventry, Middlesbrough. Do you know what? I think you can stand by this in the group chat. I think Norwich's away was the only game I was a little bit tentative, just because of like the team sheet. Just because of the team sheet and all these rumours of that we was going to have to play like George's dad in there because that's what the talk was, wasn't there? But yeah, I just.
You were really confident, weren't you? Yeah,
of course I was.
No nerves at all.
Yeah, like I didn't think we'd be that dominant because a derby or whatnot. But literally, there are times in certain games this season where we have started a little bit slow, and I think that's where teams do try and impose themselves on us. But then, like the last two fixtures against Norwich and Preston, we've come out the traps really well, and George said, where do we start to unpick it? So I'm going to start it, from our 11th outfield player with Muric, because he wasn't playing as a goalie in that game.
No, he wasn't.
He was playing as almost a third centre half and, like a sweeper. And his array of passing, it was actually mesmerising at times. And there is still the odd, very, very few grumblings. I got frustrated on Tuesday just in the cup game where he didn't play great, but I was just walking in the corridor and I heard one fella say, "Oh, I'm not keen on this playing out from the back, me," and I'm just like, "Oh my God, give it a rest."
How can you not be?
It's just absolutely fantastic. And I watched like a 2-minute highlight reel of him today, and you've got like Matson almost playing centre mid, receiving the ball, who's just been another joy to watch in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, for me, Muric was the catalyst, and if we're starting to unpick him, we're going from back to front. Yeah, what a joy it was, and I was just walking off Turf Moor, just an absolute cloud nine. Yeah, the end of the game went a little bit I wouldn't even say flat because I quite enjoyed it. It was almost like we
Cool
could have
down.
really, we could have really put the foot on the gas if we wanted to. But, we've got Watford on Tuesday and we'll just cruise to it, get subs, get players on, take our main players off. And it is just I'd like to some point in this pod kind of bring up where we go next, maybe looking forward to next season a little bit and the difference in standard. But at the moment, it is just an absolute pleasure to watch. And I know you said, Natalie, you kind of don't want this season to end. And that's what it is now. There's no kind of issues or anxieties around promotion or anything like that. Yeah, we still got a job to do to hopefully get even more clear of Sheffield, but we're just far and away the best team in the division, just far and away in every department.
Feels a little bit that we're on cheat mode. We've got some kind of cheat code installed into the players, aren't we? And we're just not playing it.
Yeah.
George, it's interesting to talk when we were talking about Muric and playing out from the back and just the standard that we're doing. The Preston manager, just one of the many nonsense things that he came out with in his PR spin after the game yesterday, when he couldn't just admit that he got absolutely battered by a better manager and better players. He said he told his players to exploit very risky play that we play at the back. Obviously having a pop at us about playing out from the back and the keeper and things. But whereas it maybe did at the beginning of the season, it doesn't feel risky to me anymore. I felt like we were completely in control.
It was, I think I'm the same way. I think I was speaking to a mate of mine earlier who's a City fan. So he'd watched Muric, in the games he played for City and kept an eye on him when he was on loan and stuff. When he was a bit younger, I knew he went to Forest and didn't impress there. And this City fan said to me, "Oh yeah, he's a loose cannon, him." And when I heard that from him, I thought that's what I thought as well at the start of the season. Like the first maybe 6 games of the season, we were obviously trying to implement this new passing out from the back. Whether it's, the crowd was obviously a bit nervous to it as well, but I feel like Muric himself wasn't playing amazingly in the passing out from the back the first 5-6 games. There were really nervous moments. Maybe there were times when he should have gone long, but he went short and it all broke down. So, it took a bit of time to get settled in. But as of this moment and over this winning streak, it's just been absolutely phenomenal and totally in control. There were so many times in that game yesterday where I think we'll touch on a bit on Preston's tactics were null and void, really. But there were a couple of times where they pressed up to and tried to take the ball.
Tactics?
Yeah, exactly. So there were a couple of moments where they tried to take the ball from us and intercept that pass from Muric. But every time it was just cool as a cucumber, really, and managed to find a pass. I think in the first half we saw it where he'd flick it left to Maatsen, and in the second half we've just touched on the subs there. When Foster came on, he suddenly started finding this ball right through the middle, straight through the middle, from back to front. And I think I noticed this morning when I listened to Alan Brown, the PNE captain, and he was speaking about the problems. I've just brought the quote now from him. He said their second and third goals, they're not just long balls. They sucked us in with their passing. They play short little passes and then they make it 3 versus 3 at the top end, which is difficult for defenders to play with. And this bit for me was it really brought a smile to my face. He said it wasn't by a fluke that it was just a ball from defence to attack and they score from it. You can tell that they've worked on that to draw us in and then make it 3 versus 3 at the back. And to be honest, that just says it all, really. It's not just, we'll pass it out from the back just for the sake of doing it. We're going to do it with the intent of A, hopefully starting an attack from the back and working our way up the pitch, but B, it will really draw in the other team, and Preston were guilty to this in the second half. It drew them in so that we could go long, and then you've got the ball straight to Teller and Barnes, and it produced the second and third goals for us. But it's so calculated. And in fairness to PNE, we've been bagging on them a bit here. I don't know what you do to defend against that, because it is just it works so well. And I think many fans will have a favourite moment from yesterday. I think my favourite moment is when, at one point when we were in the second half, so we were defending at the cricket field end, Bayer's got the ball and he does some kind of spin to get the defender away from him. He's in the 6-yard box. Muric had been running to the left back position to go and receive the ball there. There was nobody in the goal at this point. Nobody in the goal, because
we don't need anyone in the goal.
We don't. We've got Muric at left back, Bayer at centre back. It's just so fun to watch, and we're just going from strength to strength.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's not just the the play and the players and the gulf of class between the players. I think as well, what we're starting to see now is that coaches in this league can't match. They know, even if they figure out what VK is going to do and how he's going to play, they've got no answer to it. They don't know what to do to stop us because he's so far in advance in terms of his tactical awareness and his plan for a game that it's not a level playing field, both in terms of managerial tactics. We've all seen that picture of the Preston North End bench when the third goal went in and they just all sat there completely stone-faced, not knowing what to do. It's like, well, I know what he's doing. I don't have an answer. Rich, George highlighted 4 players in that last segment then, which are 2 partnerships that I want to particularly highlight from yesterday's game. Sticking with your back to front analogy, this very new partnership, which automatically looks incredible, between Jordan Bayer and Ekdal. What on earth do we do when Taylor Harwood-Bellis is fit?
Yeah, well, listen, we'll worry about that, Eddie. And I will give my opinion on it, though, because you asked me. But Ekdal, Ekdal looks like he's been playing with us for 200 games. You know, when I seen his name on the team sheet against Norwich, I wouldn't say I was surprised. I think Taylor's done a valiant job this season, but he doesn't. Listen, for one, he's not a centre half, and even when he does play left back, the type of player he is, he's very direct. Very just likes to run up and down the line. He's not a technically amazing player, and Ekdal's come in, and I don't think there's no surprise since Ekdal's come in. We've scored 6. And not conceded, and looked like we could have even scored more at times. Against Norwich, did put us under pressure a little bit more. And hey, look, how much did he cost? 2.5 million. And this is what people are saying about Parachute Payment FC and all this. But to unearth these players is unbelievable recruitment. So obviously, company plays a part in that, but our scouting system and the board deserve huge amounts of credit.
Yeah.
And Bayer yesterday, like George was saying. There was another where he's just so good to watch, taking the ball out of defence. And obviously he slipped Teller through, and I think Teller thought I'll try and get my mate Foster his first goal, when in reality he should have just chipped him and it'd been 4-0. And Bayer would have got an unbelievable assist. So yeah, since Ekdal's coming to me, we've gone up another level from the last few games.
Yeah.
And you've got one thing you got to remember from Ekdal is he's not old, but he is a little bit older than Harwood-Bellis and Bayer.
The experience is there, isn't it?
Yeah, you can tell a little bit. It's very calm and assured. He just made his Sweden date. He's been playing for Sweden, and he's not been playing in dud friendlies. He's been starting in the UEFA Nations League games against good opposition, and obviously comes from a good stock. From Jurgens or whatever it's called, and there's been a lot of high rep there, and you just got to go back at it. If Harwood-Bellis was fit for Tuesday's game, you've got to play Ekdal and Bayer, because I'm a big believer in whoever's got possession of the shirt plays, and I think that's why a key reason why Cork didn't start. I've seen a couple of people saying, why is Cork not starting? He should be first name in the team sheet when he's fit. And again, I've done
JBG was amazing yesterday. We didn't miss Cork.
It's the top player. Listen, it's a different type of game. Watford are literally offered nothing forward. So, Cork's role maybe become less valuable. And for me this season, a player who maybe doesn't take the headlines games after game, but Josh Cullen, over the course of a season, he very, very rarely misses a game, plays 90 minutes. For me, he's just an outstanding footballer, as well as him being amazing on the ball. A ball will drop in midfield or drop in the air, and you're like, all right, Cullen's got it. And when in the last 2 games when we played Ipswich, we were second best to the loose balls, and that's the main reason is because Cullen wasn't playing. So
yeah,
we've just got those partnerships all the way through the pitch now, and I'm sure we'll come on to Teller and Barnes and the effect they have. And going back to what your initial point was about how you would set up against us. Literally, the only way I would think of is going like 5 at the back with 2 defensive mids and having almost like a back 7.
And praying for a point.
Yeah, praying for a point or a set piece, because I wouldn't say we're over vulnerable from set pieces, but we are not quite as good.
That's our Achilles heel.
Well, it is, but I did that start. We've conceded like 1 goal from a set piece. It's Sheffield United. We have got a lot better since then. But yes, I do agree, Natalie. Still, we're not amazing from there. But that's just literally, I was thinking, if you press us, you're just going to get killed. But like at least just absolutely parking a double-decker aeroplane, whatever type
A
bus you
double-decker
want.
aeroplane. That was a new one.
No, yeah. So I suppose that's how you can manipulate stats, George, innit? And a third of our goals are conceded. George just put from set piece, but we've hardly conceded.
Ignore him. It's a
But
Debbie
we've
Downer.
hardly conceded any goals, have we?
No.
You know, that's the thing. So yeah, it's you think at some point this run's going to end because it's football and it shouldn't be this lovely and
I
enjoyable.
thought it was going to be
and happy.
Saturday.
You know,
I really did.
Watford. Yeah, I didn't, to be fair, because Preston are rubbish. I'll just be honest.
Yeah.
Well, Watford, at least they have got like Sarr, João Pedro, you know, Hamza Chowdhury. They have got some better players who can produce a moment of brilliance. But yeah, we're just class.
Yeah, we are. George, that second partnership then that we want to focus on, which Rich has already mentioned, is one that I did not see coming. I really did not. And that is currently our first choice striking partnership. That is Ashley Barnes and Nathan Tella. They are so in sync. They are so great for each other. They're clearly enjoying their football and it's producing goals. And it's turned Ashley Barnes into another version of Ashley Barnes that we've not yet seen. But he's some assist. He's an absolute playmaker now.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, the thing we didn't see coming, because I think it's what I said in my post-match thing yesterday. It's this partnership, didn't see it coming at all. And you know, you guys know me, I've loved Barnes, I've stuck by him. So I'm gonna, you know, I know Rich is on a diet, but I'm gonna let him, you know, eat a bit of humble pie later and speak about Barnes. But my side of I didn't see this coming is Nathan Tella. Nathan Tella came to us as this winger from Southampton on loan, full of pace, you know, skills, all that malarkey. He could play on the wing and really do a job. And we saw that for the first, you know, a few months of the season. Like, he played well. This latest incarnation, as you say, of Nathan Tella as this supreme striker, that's something I didn't see coming. His goals yesterday, the conviction in his shooting.
Yeah.
You know, I thought, and alongside Rich, and I think a lot of us thought early in the season, some of his decision making at times when he got into the 18-yard box was questionable. You know, he had all the good sense in the world up until he got to the 18-yard box, and then it may be the wrong choices here and there, and you could tell maybe this is why Southampton don't value him as a Premier League starter week in, week out. But honestly, as of late, his shooting boots are on. He takes one look at the goal, hits it, and it goes into the back of the net. And there's the skills to get it. He's got all the skills to get into that position. You know, like the second goal yesterday when Barnes, you know, tremendous work to link up play, feed it to Tella. But he just drops that defender with that little cut back inside. And then he's got one thought on his mind, I'm going to hit this as hard as possible in the bottom corner. And he does it. So for me, the more impressive thing for me, because I've always sort of really liked Barnes and so I think he could do a job in this company team. The more impressive thing for me is Tella. He's shooting and hit, and the way that company's actually used him as a 4-4-2, as a second striker. Because earlier in the season, when we were playing the Rory and Benson, they were very much wingers playing off the one up front. When Tella plays, he's the only man we do it with. When Tella plays, we almost play two up front, and it's an intriguing mix of the company ball with your good old fashioned 4-4-2, which we've come to know and love.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, for me, the Tella reincarnation has got a lot to do with the players he's got around him. You know, he's surrounded by friends. He's clearly enjoying his football. He's playing with a smile on his face. We saw in the last game that Barnes is you know, is like a dad to these players, and he's clearly bringing them on. He's clearly having influence on them. And also, to me, yesterday, like Ashley Barnes dislocates his hand in the third goal and delays treatment to go over and give his teammates a one-handed high five. It's just like that. That's Ashley Barnes all over again, and I just think it's just incredible to see. We're going to move on in a moment, and we are going to look ahead at, you know, we've got another game. That's the beauty of the Championship. Before we do that, I guess, give me a very quick summary, Rich, of that game yesterday. What's your parting quick summary of what we saw yesterday?
Quick, I don't think you can give a quick.
Try.
Yeah. I'm going to say now variation.
Ooh.
Because, you know, going back to what George said, listen, I'll admit it, I'll eat a little bit of humble pie in a sense of I thought he was done, and a lot of people will go, "Oh, fans make play scapegoats and whatnot." I don't. I would like to think that you two don't think I scapegoat players. I would just see when Roberts wasn't playing well, or
Yeah.
when Barnes was. I'm just judging players on the performance, and and I'm not stubborn enough to then go, well, Barnes isn't that good, or the turnaround. The one thing with me for Barnes is he spent so long, and maybe he got so accustomed with Dyche to just trying to win fouls and fall over, and he was more obsessed with what was behind him in terms of the defender than the ball. And now he's dropping into number 10. He's running in behind, but he's still got that physicality. And George made a great point. I think you've seen Teller, and I think we've worked out he's not an out and out winger. He's not someone who can do what Zaroury does and Benson does, hug the touchline, beat men and cross it in. He is very much, I'll position myself out wide initially, and then I'll come inside and kind of play that second striker role and get my goals that way. But the variation to the game, as that Alan Brown quote on the Preston captain, was very, very reasonable in his response. I felt is that at the start of the season it was kind of like pass, and if we didn't score that way, we wasn't going to score. Now it's very much a case of we will hit it long, and it's not a long ball; it's a long pass. There is a difference, and we're running in behind now. So I watched City today, and the last few times I've watched City, it's been very much tippy tappy. Where today they were hitting Haaland a little bit more and going that little bit longer. So and we've definitely adopted that approach, and it's just given us another string to our bow. Where a team and it's like that Alan Brown was saying, you sit back, they pass it around you, you press them, and they clip a long ball, and you've got players like Teller and Zaroury and running in behind, and Cullen picking up the second ball. This has not been a quick summary, but I don't think you can. I don't think you can just quickly sum it up, because this team has got so many layers to it now.
Yeah.
From back to front, and then off the bench, and we can win ugly. We can win in different ways. So just to my summary is variation. We can score different goals, lots of goals in different ways, different threats, and now we've got a real solidity and a little bit of nous about us to defend well when needed.
Definitely. George, final word from you. Will we ever see this again?
Probably not. I think I'll say probably not. I was just going to bring up the fact that Rich made a point earlier in our group chat where we were talking about where does this rank in the best teams we've ever seen. I think for me, obviously, the team that finished 7th is still the best team I've ever seen, just because you think the standard of division, blah, blah, blah. But if we compare this team to the one that won the championship in 2016 and won promotion in 2013-14, for me, this is the best team in the championship I've ever watched. And it's not just the fact that we're winning games and we're so many points clear. It's the style of football we're playing. We are embarrassing teams at the time. Yesterday, I think the stat was Preston had 230 passes and we had 610. I mean, it really was men versus boys at the time. And I think Alan Brown's taken a bit of stick from some Preston fans for almost being too honest in saying it was horrible to play against us yesterday. But no, it's a very special season, both in terms of celebrating wins and also just enjoying the style of football. So no, hopefully it never happen again, because we won't be in the championship again, not for a good long time anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. That is Team Nona Never's analysis of that absolute thrashing of Preston North End in the Lancashire derby at Turf Moor. The Clarets victorious, and as we've all been singing for the last 24 hours, Burnley's won 10 in a row. The Nona Never podcast is brought to you in association with the TalkSport Fan Network. Natalie Bromley is the host and editor, and the show is produced by Matt Moss. Our resident statistician is Dave Roberts, and our FPL expert is Adam Dennett. The analysis show team is collectively Tom Whittaker, Richard Steele, George Poole, Charlotte Rigby, Adam Dennett and Robbie Kopak. Our music is provided by George Gaskill, and our newsletter team is headed up by Jamie Smith. If you don't already, you can subscribe to our newsletter by visiting nonadenever.substack.com. Our thanks as ever go to our partners TalkSport. We are as ever proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network.